Welcome to another edition of For the Sake of Heaviness. My name's Merciful Mike, and as always, I'm here with this guy,
Balich, hello. Hello to everyone.
Mr. Butch Balich. It is an honor to have with us tonight the one, the only, Karl Agell. Karl, how are you? Thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me, man. I really
Absolutely,
appreciate
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Yep, I know we've been kind of working on getting you on here for a little bit, so I'm glad everything kind of worked out for us tonight.
Yeah, I'm always late to the game.
Ah, ah. But Butch and I,
Eh,
we do this
I
for
walk
fun. It's
slow.
loose.
Yeah.
Hey, before we really get into the thick of things, did you survive the storm? How's the weather out there by you?
Yeah, actually, there was, I live in the South, so um there's a couple of TV stations, one in particular that like makes a lot of hay whenever there's anything going on. And I have
Yeah,
family that lives in Maine, and I'm originally from Sweden, and
right.
I grew up in Canada. I've lived in like various and up north, and so it's always quite amusing when they go bananas down here about how everything's going to be just going to
Yeah,
hell in a handbasket, and then everybody needs French toast at the same time. There's no more
yeah.
milk or eggs or bread in the aisles. You know, but like I legitimately this time around, they were concerned about an ice storm, and it almost kind of fucked things up, but didn't quite fuck things up. So
That's
we're
good.
cool on the other side of it. I've got, we're good. Thank
Good.
you for asking.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
And and,
agree.
and my, hey, and my seriously, I can joke around, but this shit is serious, and for all the people that you know, I've been dealing with really bad shit and have lost power across this country and
Yeah.
elsewhere. I'm sorry, man. It's real, man. Mother Nature doesn't play, man. And we can talk all this shit and be big and bad and everything, but Mama Earth is always gonna win.
Yep.
Always has your number. We're just fucking a virus on this fucking big blue marble or big blue marble. Sorry.
She is undefeated. Mother Earth is
She
Yeah,
undefeated.
is.
yeah,
She
yeah.
gives zero Fs. That's for sure.
Zero fucks. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you know what? We're going to start kind of back at the beginning. Speaking of, now you did say that you're originally from Quebec. So how long were you in Quebec before the travels kind of started for
Well,
you?
I'm not actually originally from there. I have Swedish parents.
Okay.
I'm an ethnic Swede,
Okay.
whatever that means. I was born speaking Swedish. I still speak Swedish.
Means you're
I
damn
was,
handsome. Like all those
yeah,
damn Swedes.
no, I
Damn
can't help it,
handsome.
man. God, it's just what we do, you
Yeah.
know. So, well, I blush. Anyways, no, I mean, so I just my story is this: is that I had parents that are both from Stockholm, Sweden, and I'm the youngest of three siblings. And my eldest sister was born in 1959, kind of near the Arctic Circle, which my young parents in 1959, working up near there. My dad was a civil engineer. My mom was a one kind of room school teacher, one, in the olden days, like Little House on the Prairie or some shit, but in Sweden. And then my dad got a job working for this company that took them to Montreal, Canada. And then my next sister, Anna, was born there in 63. And I'm going to tell you my age. I was born in 1966. Yeah, 1966
Good
in
looking for
Montreal. But
66, man.
yeah, it's because I eat children and I'm a vampire. And, you know, Pizzagate. That's me. I started that. Anyways, that's another interview. But so, so I sucked the essential essences from children, and then that's why I look like this. So you know,
Even the blood of virgins, yes.
the blood virgin, yeah, that's pretty cool too. Kids taste better though. Anyway, you should try them. You should try them. And so, anyways, I I was born in Canada, and that's where I was born, and just randomly born there. And the Swedes at the time granted citizenship to the two Swedish parents of a kid born in Canada, and also have Canadian citizenship just by birth. And then, fun fact, I just became a U.S. citizen this past September.
Wow. That's
Congratulations.
Yeah, I
fantastic.
know. I don't know what that
Congrats.
prompted. Well, I don't know what was prompting me to do that. Maybe imminent deportation, or
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, I have nothing to complain about. I'm a fucking honky dude. What do I have to really worry about? But here I am. And then I was like, I just want to have less problems coming and going.
Sure.
And my wife and my mom, who just turned 90, was like, Carl,
God bless her.
I brought you here in 1981 when I married Frank McDonald, this Scottish guy. So anyway, so long story short, I lived in Canada, and then we moved back to Sweden, and then I lived in Hong Kong from 1971 to 1981. It was a British colony in China. So I
Wow.
lived there. Yeah, I moved there 55 years ago exactly, and then moved to the United States in 1981 as a very pissed off, crazy, confused rock and roll kid. And then I joined. I was fortunate enough to be able to channel my confusion and aggression and my puberty into the Connecticut hardcore scene and the New
Right,
York
right.
hardcore scene, and that in the early 80s. And that's where I got my start when this band called Seizure asked me to sing for them in
Right,
1983.
right.
Yeah.
Actually, Butch and I were just talking about Seizure. Now, I kind of missed that on your rap sheet here because I know you've been involved with quite a few different bands, but I missed Seizure. And then Butch sent me a little clip over. I think it was that first 7 inch, right?
Yeah, I was checking
Yeah.
out that All Hail the Fucking System.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shh, don't say that too loud.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it.
Yeah.
I didn't
That's
mean
some
it.
that's some
Don't,
aggression,
please
man. That
don't.
was some shit right there.
Yeah. Please don't shoot me in the face on the street because I said something back then. Sorry, too soon. Too soon.
It's all good, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
So,
what got sorry, Mike.
oh, no, go ahead, go ahead.
What were your was your family musical, or like what got you started down the you said you came over as a pissed off rock and roll kid. Like what lit the spark in you? Like you're because
Well,
your career is so varied, really. You've gone from hardcore to doom metal to rock and roll and everything in between. Like there's a little bit of all kind of stuff.
I gotta roll back to Lemmy, who said we are Motorhead and we play rock and roll, right? I mean, it's all rock and roll, kind of, but I know what you're saying. I absolutely agree. The spark was it runs in my family. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Salutations.
Bruce.
Hang on, I must all hail the kitty. Um, so yeah, the spark was just yes, there was one side of my family was military and engineers, and the other side was artists. You know, my mother's side was painters and artists and musical people, and the other side was like I'm a weird split of that. Kind of military engineer, whatever. And I just was always encouraged. I grew up as born in the 60s and the 70s, coming out of that kind of culture where people, encourage that kind of stuff and
Mhm.
thinking and feeling and expressing yourself. And, so I was lucky enough. I just channeled that first into, you know, um, I played alto sax in chamber ensemble and jazz ensemble, and um, also picked up the harmonica. My great aunt gave me a harmonica um, when I was 10 years old for my 10th birthday, and I was just all about that, and was playing the shit out of that, and then somehow when my parents split up and blah blah blah, my mother remarried, and I ended up in Greenwich, Connecticut in 1981. I brought that with me, just like, and then plus I was a pissed off kid. Like I was like, shitty divorce and acting out and trying to figure out my
Yeah.
way. And for me, I fell in the punk rock thing because I was a fan. I was like, my older sisters turned me on. My Charlotte, born in the oldest, she turned me on to like Zeppelin and the Doors
Sure.
and then Anna, and the middle sister, she turned me on to, she bought me my first album, the Clash, first Clash album, and
Oh, nice. That's a good one.
yeah, and Blondie and like Parallel
Wow.
Lines and all that
Sweet.
kind of. So I had
Nice.
the that kind of the rock and roll thing, and then the new wave thing, and then I showed up in the United States, I flew into JFK in 1981, August 22nd, 1981. I don't know why I remember that. I just turned 15 a week before that, and you know, been walking the mean streets of Hong Kong and showed up in the mean streets of New York City, and I loved it, man. And I figured, and there was this dirty, crazy, cool thing going on, and um, I found this outlet in high school. I felt was a fish out of water, and then I found this family that embraced me, that was putting on shows and doing this thing down the street, and I was just totally instantly brought into that. And then randomly, somebody walked up to me and said, "Hey, you want to sing for this band?" And I jumped in, and I was like, "Okay, fuck it."
Was that your first time singing then? Had you attempted it at any other point?
I kind of attempted it. I remember when I was a little kid listening to like Jesus Christ Superstar. Oh,
Sure. Everybody.
and I mean this. I'm not making this up. And I was like trying to sing along with Ian Gillan and then Murray Head, the
Sure.
original soundtrack. And I was just like, oh my God, it's so like intense. And singing along to that and other things like that. And just, you know, I knew I wanted to do that, but I just didn't have the opportunity. And then when I, you know,
Sure.
figured it
Sure.
out, somebody asked me to do it. So
So let me on the
that's-
on the roadmap of your musical career. From Seizure, you went to School of Violence. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah. I was in
Okay.
Seizure. Um, the band was just starting out, and I was in that band, and they carried on without me, and which was cool. I went to college,
Sure.
graduated class of 84. Yep, class of 84, and then went to a state school and then switched to another state school. And I was at UConn at Stores for a semester out in the middle of nowhere. And actually, I helped get Black Flag and Saccharine Trust to play a show
Really?
at there. Yeah, this is like, yeah, 1984. And then um, I actually got locked in somehow I got locked into this like hallway and staircase with Henry Rollins.
Oh.
And I remember he had long hair and was wearing a bandana and had a trigonometry book in his hand. And was I'm not even kidding. And then and then I was like, okay, this, I finished that semester. It's like, fuck this. I want to go somewhere else, and went to SUNY Purchase, which was just next to New York City, in
Right.
White Plains, New York, Westchester, and I could still be part of a really cool scene. And that's what kept me going. I just like I had to be near like real music and things happening. I don't know if I'm answering the question. I'm just rambling. I'm just
No,
rambling.
no, absolutely. And I mean, not that I can relate as a musician, but where I'm from, I'm up here in just south of Milwaukee, and I'm in Kenosha, and that's got a real rich punk history and hardcore history.
Oh
Chemo
yeah,
Core has been around forever. When we were kids, we went to those shows every weekend. We were lucky we had an Eagles club that just put on punk shows like nonstop. So
that
while
was the
we were still
best.
more of the
Yeah,
metal kids, man, we totally embraced that whole punk scene. And those are some of the best people you'll ever meet in your life. And like you said, it's a camaraderie and it's a complete total family where they
yeah.
don't care what walk of life you come from, you're part of the group. So I can relate to that. That's pretty cool.
Well,
So
there was no difference between the band and the people watching the band, right?
right,
And then I
exactly.
actually, I've actually decided to get into like social science. So, I'm technically have a degree in sociology and all that minor, but I mean, it was always like the public sphere and analyzing the stuff and the subject and object and stuff. But I was like, yeah, that's right. This breaks it all down. And actually, my undergrad thesis was uh, a documentary on hardcore punk rock
That's
called
awesome.
America's Hardcore: The Nature of the Beast. I got an A minus. You know,
Hell
no,
yeah, man.
yeah, but it was all about like understanding that this is was important and postmodern versus a moment and explosion, blah, 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 all this analysis stuff. But it was just we were there doing it, and that's the best feeling in the world is that community,
Yeah.
and doing that stuff. I was like, oh shit, I guess I realized I could sing somehow. Like I went through and I tried a couple different things. School of Violence. I was kind of going for this total Cal for Discharge meets Kronos meets Lemmy meets. It's like fuck
Could,
it. I'm
you
just
could
gonna
totally
go
hear
for
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, and then and then I was like, "Oh, this really hurts." Like, I love it, but it's not going to work in the long run. I just inherently knew that
Yeah,
when I couldn't talk anymore,
sure, sure.
and then I was like, "Oh shit, I can actually sing," and the way I hope I'm not just leading this whole thing, but I'm just going to tell you the way I
No,
ended up with COC is my band Seizure actually, or Seizure, we opened up for COC in 1985 at this in Enfield, Connecticut, at a roller rink. When they
okay,
were out on the Animosity tour, and I'd seen them actually on the Eye for an Eye tour, and then that tour, and then we opened up for them, and I saw them at CB's again later on with Simon Bob, and just a huge fan of the band. It's just like, you know, and back in those days when there was a pen pal thing, like
sure,
Reed, who was like Reed Mullen, the almighty Reed Mullen, he was like the best pen pal in the world. He would do tape trading and 7 inches, and he'd actually answer your letters, and you'd send him stuff, and he'd send stuff back to you. So
sure.
and we had mutual friends, and then in After School of Violence, I was in that band for a year. We did one record called "We the People" that came out on Death Metal Blade, sorry, and it's been reissued actually within the last year. Um, Not by them, but I left that band. I was like, I did a year with them and it just wasn't working out. And I had mutual friends that said, "Hey, why don't you look at the Village Voice?" There's an ad and said, back when there was, the newspaper before the
Yeah,
internet, for all that shit. I saw looking for a singer, and it was Corrosion Conformity had posted in the classifieds in the Village Voice, looking for a cross between um, Ian Gillan, James Hetfield, and HR. And then they reposted it against like looking for cross between like Alice Cooper and Hetfield, and and I was like, yeah, I like all that shit a lot. And I reached out to mutual friends and said, "Hey, is this real? Is this bullshit?" And they're like, "It's real."
wow,
Excuse me. And then a meeting was arranged, and Reed drove up with his girlfriend, and the early manager of the band, Karen Mason, drove up to New York City to meet me, and you know, we had a little thing, and I came down to
sure.
audition and then got the gig back in May of '89.
Wow.
Yeah.
Killer.
So I remember that shit. I can't remember yesterday or this morning, but
That happens to us all the time too.
Yeah, for sure.
So can I ask you, because you guys went out with Maiden for that 92
yeah,
tour, right?
we did.
Just
Yeah.
out of my own curiosity, because I live vicariously through all of you. What do you remember from that tour? I mean, what special memories kind of stick out from that? Were those guys pretty
This is
cool?
gonna be
Or I
this is
mean,
gonna this is gonna be a long interview. I remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
Weird. I do. No, and it was
you
actually
abbreviate any way you want. It doesn't matter to us at all.
no, it's a really, really great tour. So the best part of it is we didn't know, like fucking Iron Maiden, right? Like I was a Paul Di'Anno fan. In fact, hang on, this is a Brian Walsby that I have that I haven't hung up yet, but you know,
Oh
Oh, sweet.
wow,
That's awesome.
right?
that's cool. Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Wow.
Yeah, we love those albums, right?
Oh,
Because they're
Yeah.
really like,
absolutely.
honestly, they're like punk rock records.
Yep.
I mean, in my opinion, and like just dirty and raw. And no offense to Bruce, I have nothing but respect for him, and he's a gentleman and a scholar, actually. And so I was just like, holy shit, we've been had this offered. We were kind of on our way up, doing our thing in '92. Blind had come out, and November 5th, '91, and things were going on and falling in our lap, and it was exciting. And they offered us the Maiden tour, and we said yes, and went out. It was a 6-week tour, and I just remember um, the first gig was in Quebec City, and we're super excited up in Quebec,
Sure.
and it was like 17,000 people. This arena was full of people, and we're super
Wow.
excited, and we're like, "Fuck yeah, I can't wait!" We're like excited to go on, and they kind of pulled us aside and said, "Sorry, you're not going to be able to play tonight. There's a problem with the Eddie." It was the
What?
biggest Eddie ever. So Eddie, they had this Eddie that with the full like stacks, the guitar stacks, probably I think they were Marshalls, whatever. And his hands would come up behind the full stacks on either side of the drum set and do this thing and this, like, and literally they had these like roadies pulling levers, you know, and they're like, there's a problem with Eddie, so you guys can't go on.
Oh man.
No, very sad, but it was okay. We went on to Montreal the next day, and then from that point on, they were like incredibly gracious and really cool and total sweethearts to us. And they gave us, we had a 35-minute set. I had to stay sober for 35 minutes a day, and then and they gave us full PA. So the PA boss, the guy, they travel with their own production, kind of like the Grateful Dead or something. Like this massive, like 6 semis and shit like that. Tractor trailers.
Yeah.
And the guy liked us. He got us, this guy, this Australian guy, and he was like, "All right, mate, I got it." And like he watched us play for like a show, and then he's like, "Oh, no more sound checks. I got you." And they gave us full PA.
That's
Full
nice.
PA.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So in arenas, and honestly, it was mind blowing because I was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, they're Iron Maiden. We can't blow them off the stage, and we couldn't.
Yeah.
Testament tried to. So Testament was the middle band,
Sure.
and that's a whole nother story about like their competitive nature and how they wanted to be like bigger and better than Maiden. And I love those guys. I love Chuck. I love all those guys. But there was this whole thing of like, we're ascendant, we're gonna kick their ass, and we're like, yeah,
Good luck.
Not so much,
yeah,
right?
good luck. Like, no, and they were super kind to us, and yeah, I got a lot of stories from that tour. Like one of my favorite things is remembering, Wayne Kramer from the MC5.
Yeah.
We had him come up and guest because we were doing Future Now, which is on a demo thing for the Blind album, an outtake, and we had him come up and do Future Now with us in Nashville
wow.
on that tour, which was awesome. And then again, after that tour, we came back for 5 weeks through the country with Rollins Band that same summer, which was a busy summer.
Yeah.
And we had him come up again, opening up for Rollins Band. Then people actually recognized it. But,
yeah. But still to be able to do that, and then with Kramer too, though, that's
no, it was
pretty
awesome.
sweet.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
God damn it. I could wear you out with the whole tour. I know I got a lot of stories on that tour, but yeah.
Although, like I said, it's those kind of stories that I enjoy the most. Butch and I have talked about that many times. So whenever we have a guest on that we know has traveled down that road, I always try to pick the
we
brain
love
a
it.
little bit.
Love that shit.
So they were trying to figure things out, and we actually had this tour bus, and we were able to like, this tour bus was a piece of shit with this guy Rusty, rest his soul. He'd been a vice cop in Saigon for the U.S. So he had some bad habits. But I don't know if some youngsters remember there was this war called Vietnam. Anyway, so this is Rusty, man. He had this like just totally like thick movie star red kind of coiffure, and he was our bus driver, and I think he partied a little bit, but he had to so he could stay awake and we wouldn't die, at night when he was driving.
Yeah.
So, and we had to like chastise our roadies for like stealing his keeping awake drugs, when they found his stash, and we're like, please don't steal Rusty's drugs because we don't want to die. He needs those to stay awake so he can drive
him awake.
11. So he can drive 11 hours the next gig while you're sleeping soundly. Don't do that. That's very bad. So I just remember that. So this bus, this old Eagle piece of shit bus, had this red velour interior. And if you sat in this one seat, we'd hit it. If you'd hit a speed bump or a pothole or something, there was this AC vent that would take all this condensation, ice cold fucking water. And if you're in that shitty part of the seat, you get all this water dumped on you. This like somebody dumped ice water on you. So it was a running joke, and this bus had all kinds of problems. But the best part of the early days was maybe a week into the tour, Bruce decided to come on our tour bus. And we're like, oh my God, Bruce is coming on our tour bus. And he walks in, he was completely quiet. He just looks around, looking at this red velour interior, and he goes, I love it. Looks like a brothel. And that's all he said. And we're like, fucking Bruce called our tour bus a brothel. Yeah, we were so cool.
The stamp of approval right there.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Anyhow,
So Carl, when you're touring like that, like, man, how do you find the balance between getting your partying in and knowing you got to sing almost every night? Like, what kind of are you from the, like, do you do a lot to take care of your voice, or are you kind of like one of those guys that just
man,
goes on stage and does it?
I'm just fucking gifted, No, I'm just kidding.
You could be. Some
You
guys
know what?
are. I mean,
No, you know what? I kind of hate, like, I feel like addressing that's kind of like like, don't jinx it, or, that's a good question, right? And obviously, when I sleep more and I drink
yeah,
more water and tea and all that stuff, things go better for me, but I haven't always, you know, been careful. Obviously not, because I've been caught up in some of those rampages and, uh, ridiculous kind of things, and just caught up in that, and then go up and then sometimes have like the best ace night of all time. And other times, like, I was like, oh, could have done better, So I guess, the trick is to not, at this point, being the age I am, I've gotten away with a lot, but you can hear my speaking voice. I've got a bit of a rasp, and that's probably because, a bunch of calluses from doing it the wrong way for a long
yeah,
time, but I'm fortunate that I can still hit the notes. In fact, I feel, and here we go, I'm going to knock wood. I feel like I sing better than I've been singing a long time, it's just a time and a place. And, you know,
yeah.
yeah, go
I
ahead,
feel like
please.
seeing you in Chicago and a couple of years ago, and then seeing some of the videos of you with Legions of Doom and whatnot. It's like your voice hasn't aged at all from from the '90s, from when people really caught on to what you were doing with
It's
COC.
just
Like,
my,
it's just all
it,
there.
well, thank you, man. It's just my insides are rotting though, No,
That's
look,
all of us.
thank you. No, look, time and gravity and all that shit, like, look, we're lucky to be here, and not to be a cheese ball, but, what makes it easier is the fact that our community, this, metal, punk, whatever, hard rock community, whatever part of it, the spectrum of, is a supportive, fucking kick-ass community. And that makes it a lot easier, right? You're not going in cold in front of a bunch of fucking assholes. You're going in there at people that do believe in you, that want you to do the best. And that
Yeah,
helps. That
Yeah.
helps. I don't know if that sounds super cheesy, but you go out there, and then, it's all about pacing yourself, and some nights are better than others, but, you know,
yep,
being in the moment. And I think we can all relate, is that's the closest that I feel, that maybe you feel, to being connected to the universe, and being a part of the all, the everything. And maybe that maybe gives us an edge, I don't know, being all
yeah.
weird. I don't mean to be hippie, but,
No, it
I
makes
told
sense.
I Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, those, minutes out on stage, especially I feel like, especially on a good night when you got a great crowd, and I'm not even talking, it
yeah,
doesn't even matter how big the crowd is. You could be playing to
right,
10 people, and
right,
they're just so amazing and with you, and it's just
yeah,
like, I can't think of anything, like you said, that feels like that. It's just like there's like a connectedness there with,
yeah,
you're doing something that is reaching across to people, and whether that
right,
in the grand scheme of things, even if you're not reaching millions of people, like, you're still, touching people's lives with something you do
yeah.
that you love to do. Is like, there's nothing like that.
No, I mean, you get to do your art, right? You get to be creative and express yourself, and then those people are there to receive that, and then to reflect that back on you. And there's a lot of forgiveness there, even when you're fucking up. I've had so many of those people lift me up and carry me on and be like, "It's cool, dude." And trust me, I've had terrible nights too. My mom used to as see me play a couple of shows. And it was amazing. She's actually seen me playing my 90-year-old mother. Um, she hadn't been recently, but back in the day, she saw my band Leadfoot, my post
Wow.
COC band, playing in Stockholm and New York City and a couple other places. She'd come out, and there was a one show I don't really remember at the Continental, and she was like, in her Swedish way, she's like, "Carl, that wasn't your finest performance." Like,
Good old mom.
like I was like, "Oh fuck yeah," but we've all had those moments, So, but we carry on, right? Because you want to do it, and you know, it is what it is. Rock and roll's dirty, baby.
Yeah. I feel like the scene too, like the where I grew up in Eastern Pennsylvania, um, and I came up like I didn't start getting into heavier music until I don't know, like the later '80s. Like I like metal and hard rock. That was my main thing. But I was most of my friends were all into Kiss and Rat and Dawkins and Motley Crue, and then we liked Priest and Maiden, obviously, and Metallica. But there was a lot of like the scene that we would follow was like a lot of hair metal, and it's
Right.
funny going from that where really in retrospect it was so competitive between the bands. Now, I wasn't actively. I played in a band in high school, but we never got to where we were part of the scene. I was only playing locally for like a year, but it's so weird going from that to then when I got into like a scene with Penance later on with the heavier bands, like it didn't matter that your fucking hair wasn't down to your ass or that you weren't rail thin and pretty. Like, when I was in high school, it was, I had buddies in bands, and it's like I wasn't going to be able to sing for them because they had dudes singing for them that probably weren't near as good, but also looked better than I did at the time, and that was a big deal. So it's weird. Like I just love how the scene like this, the heavier music, the more authentic kind of stuff. Like once the spike got kind of put in the style of her substance kind of stuff, and it tamped it down. Like I still love a lot of that music, but I just think the scene is like so much healthier in a lot of ways and welcoming and supportive.
I couldn't
Sorry, I don't
agree
mean
with
to
you
take
more.
over your interview.
No, 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 no. I'm actually, I could just let me reinforce that. I couldn't agree with you more. Like, it is really, really cool as somebody my age, to go out there and play and have these kids show up. So we went out on this run with I Hate God, Legions of Doom did. This, I think it was, yeah, in September, like, several shows. And it was mind blowing. And I'm not saying this was our draw, but there was teenagers, literally, people the age when I first got into it, like there to see us old fogies up there, and they were going nuts and stage diving and moshing and sweet and supportive and picking each other up, just like the old days that I remember. And and I look around and I see it is a much more open, supportive place than it was back in the day. There's less of that kind of competitive horse shit, the less, tribal thing going on, and
Yeah.
in a really great way. And it makes me feel better about the fact that, hey, it just continues and it's not all, shitty posturing. There's like people that really give a shit about each other. It's fucking great.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, let's talk about Legion of Doom. Let's kind of come up to speed
No,
with
no,
that.
no, no. That's off.
Anything but that.
That's off limits. That's off limits. Ron Holzner is a bastard. No, I'm just kidding.
He's a tyrant.
He is. He's ruined my life.
We'll
How
put that
dare
on
he
loop.
come into my life? No, he knows. I kid the Ron. I kid the Ron.
Ron's a good guy.
Captain
He's
Ron.
a great guy, a dear old friend.
You guys have got a European tour coming up, specifically UK and Ireland. And this thing
I
is
have to
like,
correct you. You can't
okay.
say European. The Brits will have
Oh, very true. Very true.
your bollocks. Your fucking bollocks. No,
Bollocks.
your bollocks. It's the only UK, the only European part of it is the two Irish states.
Yes. Okay.
And you
I
will be
stand
quickly
corrected.
reminded. No, I just have to, just as a,
No, no, that's okay.
no. So the two Irish shows are Limerick and Dublin, and then we're playing in Northern Ireland,
Gotcha.
Belfast,
Okay.
which is part of the UK, much to their chagrin, I guess.
Chagrin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and chagrin, is that right? And then and then there's Glasgow and the UK, England and Wales and
Right.
whatnot. But but they're just to be fair, you
To be
know,
fair,
to be fair.
to be
So
fair.
Because I
to be
there's if
fair.
I counted right, you guys have got 15 dates total.
16, goddamn it.
Is it 16? Well, seven of which are
Get
sold
it.
out.
Interview over. No, yeah, 7 or 7.
Get your shit together, man.
Jesus,
Yeah,
do your research.
seven of them are sold out, and it looks like
Yep,
one of the shows is upgraded venues twice now.
yep, in
So
Glasgow. Yep. Yeah.
so you guys have got to be just pumped as all hell with that kind of a reception.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to hand it all to Crowbar. I don't know how much we have to do with that. I'm just super stoked that we were included. Ron knows a lot of people.
Yeah, oh
I know
yeah.
some people. He knows more people. And got handed to Ben from Orange Goblin, who is handling the booking now. He's become a booking agent in the last
Right, right.
while, and he's taking care of us. And he's doing a big shout out to Ben from Orange Goblin, or they just played their last run of shows, and he's been amazing. And what a gentleman to include us, and beyond stoked. So when what small part we have anything to do with that, we're just lucky to be in the middle slot. Like holy shit, we get to
Sure.
come and do our shit before Crowbar.
Wouldn't sell you
And
guys. I wouldn't sell yourself short though. I mean, I know it's Crowbar, but I think you guys have got something to do with it too. Don't sell yourself short. You guys are a great band.
well,
Seriously.
thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, um, on that same subject, is there talk of another album or is there new music in the works
Yeah,
or
absolutely, absolutely. I think just here's the thing, right? So, I was asked to join this band that is based out of Chicago, and it's Lothar and Ron are the heart and soul of the skull. Lothar Keller, and he is actually in the process of moving back to North Carolina. He's from North
yep,
Carolina, and he hasn't lived there in a long, long time. And he's actually moving back right now this month,
saw that, yeah.
after being gone forever. And so we have, when I first joined the band, it was Henry from who's also in Pentagram, and
Mhm.
lots of other bands.
Mhm.
Um, was playing, and now we have Chad, our from he's from Tennessee originally, but lives in Ottawa. He's gonna jump in on these days because Henry can't do it, and Chad's amazing. He's a fucking
He's
amazing
incredible.
drummer.
Yep.
Yeah. And I've got Scott, who was in Leadfoot with me on the second and third Leadfoot albums. He's the second guitar player now. So I mean, the band has had a rotation of different like second guitar players. And obviously there's a whole story. I'm obviously
Oh yeah.
not Eric. I'm not Eric Wagner. I was. I'm blown away. I was even asked to be a part of this. Completely floored. I was friends with Eric. And when the COC was on tour back in the day, when I was still in the COC, Trouble was doing their thing off that seminal, Trouble record on
Hmm.
Deaf American, and we're out and about, and that's when I first met Ron, and we were like instantaneously brothers, and had a connection, and always enjoyed hanging out, and they'd ask me to come up, and Eric would be like, "Hey, you want to come sing a song?" If we were like and I was always blown away, like, "Oh, okay." I remember singing Helter Skelter with him at the Rialto when they, you know, opened up for Danzig on that tour. It was funny. The whole like 28 more stories on that night. But anyways, so no, I just had so much respect for this amazing, amazing, amazing voice and presence. And actually, the first Lie Heavy show, Lie Heavy, was going to be opening up for the Obsessed and the Skull,
Yep.
and the Skull never made it. And we opened up for the Obsessed. It was just us two, and then like, what's happening? And then later on, we found out that Eric had passed away. Literally didn't make it to that show. And 9 months later, I got a call from Ron, or he texted me and said, "Hey, would it be cool if I called you?" We'd stayed in touch a little
Sure.
bit since then, and he said, "Hey, would you be up for doing a memorial show and singing Eric's parts?" And I was like, I don't know if I could do that. I'm in Chicago in front of his children and his ex-wife and his girlfriend and the Chicago crowd. I was like, they're gonna be throwing old style bottles at my head,
Oh,
like I'm not worthy, and I did it and it worked out, and I couldn't have been invited to a more gracious, loving family and community of people that were supportive. And he's gone, never forgotten. And I'm just blown away I even get to do this. So I don't know. I'm rambling on, but I have to say this because
understood. Sure.
I get to stand, in these canoe-sized shoes and pretend that I could pull his stuff off, and I can't be him. I can just pay tribute to him. And it is what it is, and we get to go do that. And so we did the Legions of Doom album that came out is a mixture of, it's a tribute, of
Right.
trying to figure out a path forward after he was gone, and we had the almighty Scott Reeders from St. Vitus
Sure.
singing
Yep.
songs, and then myself. And so, yes, to answer, I'm giving you like the 1,000 billion minute answer, but
That's
no, no.
okay.
So we're doing, yes, there's more stuff to come. We're just kind of
Good.
figuring out, like, we did that. That was a moment. I guess everyone's cool with it. Is this legitimate? Are we okay to go on? And it seems like we are. And, you know, yeah, we're going to be writing new stuff. So
That's
everybody's got
great
a
to
ton
hear.
of stuff.
That's
Yeah.
great to hear. That's a,
Sorry, I could have just said yes. Sorry.
but that would have been
It's
any
more
fun.
fun
Yes,
hearing the other
yes,
stuff. I mean, yeah.
yes, we're going to do another record.
That's good. I'm glad because it's a good bunch of guys to collaborate and to create new music. So that's good to hear. It's really good to hear.
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. There's a lot of really amazing, talented dudes doing this stuff. So I'm happy. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then on another track, what's going on in the Lie Heavy camp right now?
So we are writing the second album right now. So we have,
Nice.
yeah, no, I'm super proud of it. That's something that is immediately here in my, Graham Fry and I've been playing together nonstop since like 1994. He was on the first two Leadfoot albums, and we came back together to do Leadfoot again. And that Leadfoot's actually technically not dead too. We're actually realized that we have a fourth album already written if we want to release it. So we might release some of those demos or track them again. So there's that's a thing that's never really dead.
That's
That's
great.
kind
That
of
would
been
be
in the
cool.
background. But yeah, it's really fun. But so Graham and I have been doing the Lie Heavy thing with JD Dennis, and we had TR on the first album. Now we have Carrie Rawls, who was in Confessor and
Oh
still in
man.
Confessor, if you know Confessor.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
Graham's the original Confessor guitar player too, so that's pretty cool. So you have these two old school Confessor guys, one current and one has been. Anyway,
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
no, so no, we're actually writing the new album right now, and I think we have, like, I don't know, more than an album's worth of stuff. We're just trying to pare it down, and we're probably gonna uh, release it in kind of EP chunks, maybe, or
Mhm.
field test. I don't know. I'm just I'm a moron when it comes to how to do things now. So I don't know. I'm stuck in the album paradigm. You know what I mean? Like, oh, go do an
Sure.
album, 12 songs or 14
There's
songs.
definitely a transitional thing going on now where I think everyone's trying to figure out what the best way to do it is. Is it to release a few good, it seems like there's so much of a push for streams and things. So it's the best thing to instead of taking a year to write and record a record and putting it all out at once, is it better to, like you said, to put out an EP and then follow up more often,
I don't
with,
know. Yeah.
or is it
Yeah.
better to do it the traditional way? I don't know. I mean, I think older dudes like us, you kind of get attached to
The album.
I always like, my mentality is always like it's the album
Yep.
is the thing. But then it does seem like even in the way that bands lead up to records now, it's like it could be months before. Priest did it, Megadeth did it, months before records even coming out. They're dropping 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Right.
Half the
Because
records coming out half the time.
well, they probably have somebody in their crew or in their, circle that is either employee or like been contracted to figure out stuff, and they're probably like 40 years younger than them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
what the hell is
marketers,
going on? No, and that's just the way it is. Like, and we can bitch like, oh, there's a thing called the telegraph and a radio now, and like it's insane, like, you know what I mean? It's like, we can be as much, we can be total Luddites, like, and destroy the printing press and
get out the Victrola.
not exactly. I have one downstairs actually.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah. So I just, you got to do what you got to do, right? But
Yeah.
again, there's nothing wrong with defending the idea of a narrative of like a story. It's almost like theater, like an act, like act one, act two, act three. Like there's a trajectory, and you're telling a story, and maybe it's going to take more than just 3 minutes to tell that story.
Right.
So I think it's okay. I think it's okay. And I don't think that, fuck you if you think that's showing my age. This is how I want to do my art. And I'm legitimate, we're all cool, right? So this is, if we want to keep doing it that way, that's okay. And if other people don't want to fucking dig that, that's okay too. They can go
Sure.
dig something else. That sucks.
Carl, do you feel like that the state of the industry is kind of a double-edged kind of thing? Like, on one hand, it's definitely a bummer that physical sales in general aren't what they used to be, but at the same time, do you kind of feel like that? I know that I do, that there's a freedom that comes with not having to worry so much about selling like thousands of copies of something, where you can just do whatever you want, stay true to your to your muse or whatever, instead of, back in the days of bigger labels where they're like, well, where's the hit? Where's the hit? Or you have to, keep it
Right.
under 40 minutes or that kind of thing. How do you feel about?
Well, I guess what pushed people back then, right, is they were all in, and they were musicians. They're like, this is how I'm going to pay my rent, right? So if that's your livelihood and you have to make it, and there's like, you're a session person maybe, and there's a lot of people that are just as talented as you, maybe more talented, and they're showing up and they're kicking ass and they're getting, dollars to do what they do. It's that old school thing of like that industry. It was an industry like where you legitimately could be, and people are still in this, but I could be a musician, and that's what I am. I don't have to dig ditches. I don't have to work a typewriter, or back in the day or whatever the fuck. And now, get online and do my whatever marketing, whatever the fuck it is. I don't know, deliver pizza, wait tables, be a bartender. So I'm saying is like people were all in, like they fully committed to that, and I think that was the pressure too. Like it was considered a legitimate thing to be a full-time musician. I'm a musician. That's what I do for a living.
Right.
And I think that, in my opinion, that concept's kind of changed. It's like, I think it ties into my vision. Like, I think the arts garner less respect than they used to. They're not,
True.
they're not financed. They're not, there's like no grants. Libraries are under attack. I don't know if you want to go there. The written word is, just there's a whole lot less respect for creative, thoughtful endeavors.
Do you think
It's
that
all this
has
kind
to
of,
do with
It's a lot of bro
modern
culture. Go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, and we've Butch and I've talked about this too. If modern times compared to, the 70s when we were growing up and listening to music and getting into everything, I mean, consumer consumption of music specifically now, it's just an attention span. It's flavor of the week and you move on. But back then it was you did rely on a label, and a label was loyal to
Right.
you to a certain extent, and they would grow you. You'd get 3, 4 albums to progress, and a label would stay behind you. Now you've got kids that can pump out a record in their bedroom, and all of a sudden
Well,
they're playing every place. So it's like the
but it's all
competitive arena is different.
I think it's all technology based, right? So
Sure,
it's all based, I think, on the
sure,
fact that this can be done, right? So back then it was we used to write letters and wait for
right,
responses, and
Yeah.
it took
yes,
time. You know what I mean? It just we used to do mixes on giant analog consoles.
exactly,
I mean, multi-tracking didn't happen until like deep into the 60s, right? So
right, right,
like it's all, I think a lot of it ties into technology and like, where we're at as in that. So
sure,
we're at this point where information's immediately available, you know, immediately. Like, obviously immediately. So,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's transformed everything and we can feel however we want to feel about it, but that's just them's the
right,
facts.
right.
And I think that really had a huge part in this is that, you no longer just kind of a caveman around the campfire kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And that changes the whole dynamic and A plus B equals C in a different way now. And I don't know if it's wrong or right. I guess that's what we grew up with, and
Yeah. Yeah.
we can. I'm trying not to be an old guy telling the kids to get off my lawn, but sometimes I have to fight that.
Right. Screaming at
And
the sky.
but it's not their fault. It's just where things are at.
Oh, it's
And
what they know.
I think all of us have more in common with our grandparents than we have with the next generation in some ways, right? Because
Yeah.
there's been
Yeah.
these huge shift that's so rapid. And you can
Right.
look at like, machine learning and AI and, blah, 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 all that
Right.
stuff, all these
Right.
buzzwords. And we're in a transformational time.
I agree.
And, here we are on the
Yeah.
interwebs talking.
Yeah. I
But,
feel,
you know,
yeah, I mean, to your
go
to
ahead.
your point about the respect that I think the general populace has for art, I'd probably agree that it's not. I don't think it's what it used to be, and unfortunately, one of the. I think there's such a huge debate. It's been going on for years. I mean that in schools about where to allocate resources, and it seems like it's always the first things that get cut are your music programs, your art programs, like anything that isn't the three R's, read,
Right.
write, and arithmetic, like anything other than those, like you know, there's this ultra focus on that kind of thing. And I don't know if the outcomes are, I don't know. I don't research this stuff. I'd have to look into it, but just based on, my, what I see with my kids and other kids, I don't know if the outcomes are that much better to warrant like stripping exposure to the arts from kids, which I think you can make an argument that it makes a more well-rounded person to be exposed to it. You don't have to be, I'm not a great, molder of clay or anything, but it was good that I felt like it's cool to be exposed to it in school. And, one year we'd have a class that was based in drawing. The
Mhm.
next year in art class, it was like different things like clay
Yeah.
and then there was always music classes available, like in addition to there were music history, in addition to chorus, which I was involved in. And I just think it's a shame that I think because as with less of a focus on that, I think kids maybe, and again, I don't want to be like you were saying, like old man yells at cloud or anything, but I don't know that kids appreciate as much what goes into, they don't appreciate as much the artistry behind things, which makes them more susceptible to just being like, oh, look at this AI thing that I can put together. I don't care that this
I
music
think
that I get caught. I feel my drummer sends stuff in the one band I'm in. He'll send stuff and be like, check this band out, and I'll be like 5 minutes later, I'm like, Jeff, that's an AI band. That's not even real,
Right,
and it's like
right.
such a bad. And people like listen to that stuff, and kids don't even
yeah.
take the time sometimes to, or I should say, just kids, people in
Well,
general.
People.
I
Yeah.
think I think it's the difference between making things and then receiving things. And I don't think, or things, actual things, right? So tangible things. And I think
Right.
that part of our culture is been tramped down, and not just art and painting and singing and poetry and writing or whatever the hell, you know, whatever version of that is, but also even like from a vocational perspective of like, you know, making things like with your hands and being present. I think there's been a huge disconnect from it's okay to be working class or working and making, it's just everybody. When I first moved to America, one of the things I noticed was like, oh, the American dream, we're all going to be millionaires. That's when
Yeah,
I was like, I was aware of that. I came to America
you
and
could
said,
do anything you
everybody,
want to do.
yeah, you just gotta, you gotta believe, and I think that maybe it's run its course. Maybe I'm just being a weirdo, but I think it all comes back to making things and living in the real world, and a loss of respect for that of being present in the moment and community, and whether that's on a stage or if it's just like you guys going out and you know building something together. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying, of course, there's people in construction and all that shit doing it, but I think it's just like I think there's been a shift. You know, I don't know if that makes sense, but
Totally.
not being in the moment. And
Sure.
just it's all about an experience and how and
Right.
I don't know. What was the band Crass, one of the great British, punk bands, anarcho pacifist Crass. They had one thing on it stuck with me a long time ago. It says, uh, and this was their like dig on television, actually, before any of this, but it's the same thing. It applies. It's like, Big Brother's not watching you, you're watching them. Right? So, you know,
Right.
and that led to me, I think, writing Dance of the Dead, right? Chain, it's in our brain, right? So you just willfully take it on, just absorb and rather than, be present and make something happen,
Right.
just come out
Right.
a passive recipient, you know. Anyways, there you go.
Carl, I want to be respectful of your time, but I got one more question. It
No, I'm
relates
good. I'm
to
good. I'll ramble however long you want.
um Lie Heavy. My son loves the video for the namesake song. So who came up with the concept and how much fun was that? Because
That
that
was fun.
video is
You know what's
great.
you know what's you know what's really funny about that whole thing? It was JD Dennis's brother, the drummer's brother, Kevin Dennis, who actually is a videographer and involved in and has worked for like ESPN and like NASCAR. He lives down in Charlotte. I think he still
Okay.
does. And was like involved in video and film and skillful guy. And he said, "Man, I want to make your first video." And he presented us this whole idea of with I should maybe I could send it to you. He did this whole what's it called when you map it out like
A
Storyboard?
storyboard.
storyboard. Thank you. And he storyboarded the whole thing with like Lego, and it was
That's
awesome.
great.
And he like had a meeting with us and met us at this bar and like had this binder and opened the whole thing up. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. And so much of it was like almost him poking at his brother and fucking with his brother. It was awesome. And my favorite thing that where like you could really feel it is where JD's eating glue. He's the guy in the classroom. I don't know if you know the video that well, but he made his brother eat glue. It was like icing, but he's like, "You're gonna be the dipshit in school eating
Right,
glue,"
right.
and he made his brother do that. It was awesome. So it was this ridiculous over the top thing and we knew like the song "Lie Heavy" by Lie Heavy, right? It's actually the lyrics are pretty hardcore, like they're not super fun, but we also at the same time it's like let's just make this like ridiculous thing, and he had us do all these bits like he rented out an ice rink for us to be on, and
Yeah.
uh, my wife secured like Duke University where she works. She secured a classroom for us to do the classroom thing. Like there's all these location things,
Right, right.
and then this office that Graham's girlfriend secured for us, and it was like we're on location for this shoot. It was so over the top and ridiculous and awesome. It was just fun. It was like this whole act,
Yeah,
thing we
yeah.
had to do. So yeah, it
No,
was just it was it was silly. It was very silly, and it doesn't like really speak to the actual lyrics in so many ways, but at the same time, it's just
yeah.
having fun and poking fun at ourselves and
Sure. A little
being
tongue in cheek.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it.
Great song. I love that album. That was one of my absolute
Thanks,
favorites from
man. Yeah,
24. Love it.
yeah, I think you're gonna like the new one too, man. It's
Looking forward to it, really.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Do
Well,
you
I guess we
think?
can.
Sorry, I was
Go.
gonna.
Nope. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Rich. We
don't.
do this all the time.
How dare you?
It's a-
You always
we're well-
you always do that to him,
We're well rehearsed.
and he always does that to you.
I'm usually stepping on Mike, and yeah, I just wanted to
It
ask,
goes both
as far
ways.
as Lie Heavy goes, if there's any kind of like touring activity over the next year that we could see,
Yes.
or like regional
Yes,
kind of stuff, or
Yeah, no, there is. We actually have a couple things lined up. I know that we are headlining in the Maryland Doom Fest Saturday night, which is now called
Oh, that's
Nights of
right.
Doom.
Yeah, Knights of Doom. Yeah.
Yeah, so
we'll be there.
Leads of Doom / The Skull. We did the last two nights there, so I thought it was going to be the last two nights ever, but here it is, and I'm with all due respect, JB is going, and they're making this happen, and it's awesome. I'm just super glad to be invited, and so they're giving us the last slot on Saturday night. Maybe we're
Nice.
sweeping up, maybe we're not, but hopefully people stick around.
I'm pretty sure you're going to have
Sometimes
a crowd.
I hope so. And no, I'm super stoked. So we have a couple like weekend runs, kind of like we're mapping out right now. It's not that we don't want to do long runs, it's just the reality of where things are at, and demand, and
Yeah.
what can you get paid? Is it legitimate? The deal.
You guys would be great on emissions from the Monolith up in
Yep.
Ohio, Youngstown, in what, September, Mike?
I believe so.
That would-
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I'm all for that. If anybody wants to make that happen, and any band I'm in, so no, I'm just happy to play, and there's so many great festivals. Livey played Punk Rock Bowling last year. One of my favorite festivals I go out to all the time. It's not happening this year, but we were playing one of the club shows, which was amazing. So because of my, old affiliations, but
Yeah.
we don't give a shit. It's just rock and roll. We want to play anywhere, so
Nice.
it's cool.
That's awesome.
Whatever works. Yeah, we got a couple of things, but I'll let you know.
Outstanding.
All right, let's wrap it up with one fun final question for you.
Oh,
Desert Island album. You got one choice. That's it.
my God.
What's it going to be?
Well, I'm a Thin Lizzy guy.
Well, you're talking Butch's language here.
Yeah, and I can't believe I'm finally getting to go to Ireland and to Dublin, and I'm going to be the shithead that goes and stands next to the statue.
You have to.
You
You have to make the
Yeah.
pilgrimage. You have to go. Yep.
I must. It's part of it.
It is.
So I love all the records for all the different reasons, but I think Vagabonds of the Western World, because it's just what brought me in and then took me to the next phase,
Sure.
And there's just such purity in that album. Don't get me wrong. Don't make me think about this too much. I'm just gonna go with Vagabonds of the Western World.
It's a good record, man.
Good choice.
It's a great-
Really good
yeah.
choice.
It's all right. I don't know.
Well, Carl, it has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad we were able
Definitely.
to make this happen.
Thank you
This
so
was
much.
A ton of fun.
Thanks for letting me ramble on, man. I'm a bit of a goofball. I mean, you get me going.
Well, you're in good
Um,
company,
I-
'cause so are we.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't mean to wear you out with my ramblings, but thank you for
None.
allowing me to do that, and for caring about what I have to say and for including me. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So those of you that are watching, I will put links to all of Carl's bands in the description. Make sure you check them all out. Keep an eye out for Lie Heavy, Legions of Doom. Things are coming up. So, all right, Carl. Once again, thanks so much. It's been a blast,
Thank you.
and we will see you
Definitely.
all on the next episode of
Fuck yeah.
For the Sake
of
of
Heaviness.
Heaviness.
There we go.
Woohoo!